All right. Let's look at the drawing, the assertive spectrum drawing. And on one end of the spectrum, we have a rather non-assertive person who's quiet, perhaps overridden by the other one in many other conversations or confrontations. On the second extreme of the picture, if you look at the far right, is the aggressive person. That's the person who's more argumentative and quick to have a temper, probably breaks out, yelling and arguing quicker. And that, of course, just drives the quiet person down to be quieter even more. So let's see if we can't find the ideal goal, which is to find the middle of the spectrum and become assertive on both ends so we have effective communication for both. Okay, stick with me. I'm here to talk to you about assertive training. What is it? What is assertive training? Well, as you probably saw at the beginning of this video on YouTube, that in fact there's a little diagram showing you in a assertive training pyramid and showing you the extreme spectrum of what assertive training is. Now, right in the center of this spectrum is the ideal way to communicate, which would be assertiveness. You can express yourself, but you don't have to overly shout and yell and scream. At the low end of the spectrum is a person who might be quiet and submissive. And so they're not getting what they want because they don't speak up for it. And so the idea of assertive training is to teach you to speak up for what it is you want, but speak up effectively. The other extreme, contrast to that, the other extreme of the spectrum is the aggressive person. And guess what? The aggressive person doesn't get what they want all the time either. So you lose out by being aggressive. You can dominate others all you want, but sooner or later it boomerangs back at you. And there's a lot of issues that can come out of that. Now, of course, on the aggressive end, we don't advocate for anybody to be so aggressive that, of course, people get hurt. And it's when we lose control and when we are so enraged that we forget logic and we pick up something in our realm. We might move so fast we knock the other person over. That's considered domestic violence today. So you need to be really careful how you control yourself in your household. I have dealt with couples with volatile relationships, and I tell either party, when the other person starts, if they're yelling and screaming and so irate, you can't control it, run. Do not stay there, just run. Either one, before you get hurt, number two, before you react, and then possibly you're the one who gets in trouble. So you need to be very careful how you handle a person in a volatile situation. So all of that can be avoided if we learn these basic skills of assertive training, okay? Anger management, temper control, self-regulation, it's something that's in a lot of us. It's how sometimes a learned behavior, sometimes it's physiological. Our body reacts overly. Sometimes it's due to trauma. We're hyper. What is it that we gain from this assertive training? Number one, confidence building, because we were able to effectively manage something and our loved one is still happy with us, probably ends up with a hug and a pleasant evening. That's confidence building. Number two is clarification. You want to clarify what it is the other person is looking for, what it is that the issue is at the table that you're both discussing, and see if that can work out through clarification. And of course, what we want to do in the final major control of this is control of ourselves. We want self-control. We want to be able to regulate ourselves like a mature man or woman, whoever we are. And we want to be able to conduct ourselves in a manner that at least amount of friction going to happen to our families. So what happens, unfortunately, is it seems multiple problems plague the hardest fighting, stressed families. So when you have kids very young, maybe you didn't have the income, you didn't have the education others have, so you don't have the income. Now you're under stress because your kids are going without, or your loved one's going without, or even you're going without. But the issues mount and the stress wears on you to the point where you might blurt out and explode and erupt. Okay, everybody's been there and seen that, and we know what we're talking about when I think you all have examples in your life of seeing somebody blow up for some reason. Okay, but that doesn't get them what they want. So even though you vent and you feel great for that moment, it's like, oh, I'm so aggravated. Boy, I told him. Well, yeah, great, you told him, but now you gotta charge for assault. So you didn't really accomplish anything for yourself. Now you got legal fees, you got court fees, and Lord knows if you're caught up in court systems now under COVID-19, you are going to be in court and jail for a while. Everything's moving very slow in the judicial system, so you really want to stay out of that. Okay, so if I give you no incentive to learn about assertive training and self-control, that alone should do it. Because once you get into the system, it's like a black abyss, and you just hard to get out. It's very hard to get out. Everything's moving slow. So that alone should give you incentive to say, okay, let me get a handle on this. Let me take control of myself. It's we all want to let loose sometimes. You just got to do it within moderation. If you really want to let loose, go to the gym and box, or go run around the block 10 times, or go swimming 20 laps, whatever you need to do. But that's how you vent your frustration right now under these conditions. Okay, so now back to the assertive training. And assertive training is something that you learn through exercises that you do in regular training, but it's an element of communication that allows you to express yourself and perhaps gain the maximum benefit, solution, or resolution to an issue that you have with your partner. And that is something that needs to be talked about. It's funny, they say couples are so quick sometimes in modern day to like jump in bed together and have great sex, and that's wonderful. But then when you sit down to talk about finances, or sit down to talk about other issues, that logistics of what you need to do to keep your life going together, people hold back. People are afraid to speak up. So it's kind of a juxtaposition of the way life used to be. In the old days, when they matched couples together, that's the first consideration, was financial concern. So they all looked at the finances before they got together. And that's back in the day when our parents or family members matched you, or you were mail order bride, or whatever the case may be. But the finances were talked about first. And these days, it's a little bit different. And once you're involved in a very intimate sexual relationship, all the lines get blurred. So now you don't really see things objectively, and you don't see maybe somebody had a communication problem. Maybe somebody has a really bad temper and you didn't see it because you were busy making love, which is great. Everybody loves it. You're in that beautiful glow. And then all of a sudden reality hits, and wow, the tempers fly. So all the more reason for you to pay attention right now. People don't have money for therapy. The reason I'm doing these series of workshops is because I don't like the idea that a lot of marriages have suffered. I did a short poll over social media, and of the people that responded, 50% said there was no change in their relationship. 25% said there definitely was a change and it was severe, and another 25 said they are struggling to keep it. So isn't that sad? That means half of our people, half of our couples, loving couples, people who loved each other at one point, are struggling more so now because of the virus. So you either learn to survive together, which accounts for the 50% that are getting along, or you learn to hurt each other more. And you don't want to do that. We want to diffuse that. So please adhere to what I say. I've seen it. I've seen the changes in people over the years. You can change whatever bad behavior is flawing your ability to interact with others effectively. Okay. Love gets skewed sometimes. It gets blurry after a while if you let your ego get involved. And if it's like, well, she said that, so now I'm going to do this. And it's like, I'll show her she can't do that to me, or I'll show him. Well, once that ego gets involved, it's silly stuff. That's something you do in junior high school, maybe. But it's time to grow up. It's time to look at yourself and do an honest assessment of where you think you fit. And I will be happy to correspond. We're going to have a social group on Facebook. We're going to do live interactions. The social group will be private. If you want to sign up, please go to my Facebook, FeliciaFerrara.com, and you will, it's Felicia Ferrara 7. And then you will find that you stroke on down to where it says RelateThis2, and there's a social group I'd like to start. And you'll be surprised how supportive it can be to have somebody to correspond with, over Zoom or over Facebook. At this day and age, we're all having virtual interactions, so let's maximize it. Let's get this free advice and interact with each other on a way that can improve. It can only improve. It can't harm your life. It can only improve your manner of interacting with others. So join me as we go further, deeper into relationship communication, different aspects of communication, and there's a lot of aspects. So let's do that. I have other videos on listening. This one, of course, is on assertive training, but don't lose out on loving the person you love because you forgot to control your own self. Okay, get an assessment of yourself. This is all done in the privacy of your home. We go by email, so whatever email you put in there, that's the email we correspond with. So again, see what happens. You'd be surprised. It's all baby steps. We all need to take baby steps from the bad habits we've developed, okay? So let's diffuse some of the tension that's going on in our own little homes right now, okay? All right, so hope to see you in the near future. As I said, I will leave for you below. Please subscribe. If you like this video, please give me a shout and give me a hands up, thumbs up. And also subscribe below, and you can download a copy of the Assertive Training Scale. So you kind of pin it on your refrigerator and say, okay, how do I work this out? Okay, if you have more questions, we'll see you in our social group. All right? All right. Have a good one. Stay calm, stay happy, and love the one you love. Bye-bye.